Hey, we're live.
Whoa.
Whoa. We're live.
Like, how live are we?
Like live.
Well, that's crazy.
One might say we're live alive.
One could say.
One could say.
Wait, are you sure? Oh,
Yes.
What? Why is it labeled? I hate YouTube. Why you do this?
What?
So if you go to the page to find it, it's the third video in the live
Yeah.
section.
I saw
That's
that.
really funny.
As I clicked on the first one and it opened up the picking shows, I was like, that's weird. What?
Bold move, YouTube.
Wow. We finally get to talk about the show.
Finally get to talk about it.
We get to do it.
Where's my link? There's all my. Oh, we get the link. I get to link a stream 3 times in 2 days.
Yeah.
Discords hate me. Find out one cool trick. I did not mean to. Cool. I was gonna say I did not mean to do that. If it was gonna do that, but it didn't. Great. Wonderful. I think that was everywhere I need to put that. Hello. It is us, and we are here for How Good Is the most important question. I was looking at I was looking back to get the description and the title right for everything in previous episodes we've done this for, and I was reminded that we have a segment of this episode where we compare the show that we watched for How Good Is to the past currently airing season, and I'm like, this isn't fair. I wouldn't wish this upon anybody.
The season was pretty sick.
Yeah, we just gave off of that,
and do. That's because we're like, we need more things to talk about. How is this compared to things we just watched?
Yeah, that's a cool. I mean, we're not gonna stop doing that idea because I think it's funny. But oh boy,
But unlucky Terror Resonance.
I mean, yeah. Hi everybody. This is How Good Is. This is Terror and Resonance. So a couple of things before we start. This is not our usual program. We'll be picking that back up towards the end of the month with the new Winter 2023 season of Save or Slay, where shows will fight to the death to be top 3, and we all refuse to let John win again.
True.
That is the play. Of course, there'll be no bias in our voting.
Hey, guys, we forgot to mention something important now. John is 1-0.
No.
True.
What do you mean?
John is only
John
been
is
here
like
for
1
one
in
season.
14.
That's true.
So
John does have a perfect record. Hey, if that means that John doesn't have a back-to-back win, I'm fine with it. It just means that, different people on the podcast do.
It just means that we still can't let him win.
I am due for my win there, but outside of that, I have a win, and that is that we've watched Terror and Resonance. How Good is different in that we all sat down together to watch a show. This one being only 11 episodes. And now we're going to talk about it and express our opinions about what we thought, about how good it is. We're going to answer that question, and we're going to see how it lines up, how it compares to some stuff we've watched recently, and all that good stuff. Some things to talk about first before we get into it. Terror and Resonance is my show. If you're interested, I apparently have to go upload the VOD for Odd Taxi, which I know I have that recording for, so it's not a problem. But I checked today. I was like, wait, Odd Taxi isn't up? How did I not do that? So I will have to do that after this. So it'll be a double dose of How Good Is. But Mason had picked Odd Taxi, Michael had picked Izoken, John had picked Villainess's first season, and I am now here with Terror and Resonance, almost a year and a half later. 'Tis how time works, and is a real shame. Terror and Resonance, potentially better known as Zankyo no Terror. I actually don't know which one is more common to hear it by. I would assume it's the Japanese title. Who's to say? It is a mystery psychological suspense show, 11 episodes that aired in summer 2014. I think this is the oldest show we've had on here now, by a lot,
Yeah.
for these how good is. This was by our good friends at Mappa. They just be doing stuff like this. It is currently available for all of you to enjoy on Crunchyroll. And some additional notes I have here. So Terran Resonance shares 2 producers with Attack on Titan the final season, Jujutsu Kaisen and Taiso Samurai. Not a surprise given that all of those are Mappa Studio works. It's directed by the man, the myth, the legend, Shinichiro Watanabe, who is known for Cowboy Bebop, Samurai Champloo, Space Dandy, Carol and Tuesday, and was the music producer for Sunny Boy. I don't know if you knew that. He's just hands everywhere. Yoko Kanno did the music. She is also known for Cowboy Bebop, did the music for Dark Than Black, Ghost in the Shell Standalone Complex, Wolf's Rain, Vision of Escaflowne, everything that absolutely slaps. The art director for Terran Resonance is known for their work on Black Lagoon, Trigun, Grimgar, Hajime no Ippo, Blue Gender, Kiba, and Record of Lodos War, just to name a few. Kazuto Nakazawa, who did the character designs, is best known for his works on Samurai Champloo, Days 2016. That's right, Michael. We can never escape. Or Soccer Boys. Be the Beginning. He was also the creator and director on that. Fena Pirate Princess, same thing, creator and director. Also created and did the art for Tales of Legendia. Legendia, thank you. And Azura's Wrath.
Oh.
And the craziest thing about this show in its entirety is that he also directed the video for Linkin Park's Breaking the Habit, which is a fact you don't expect to have to say on an anime podcast about someone who worked on your show. And the last thing I'll say, the last little note I have before we get started, is that Watanabe had stated in an interview that the music for this soundtrack was inspired by the Icelandic band Sugar Rose. I will put that in chat. Their music is very good. It absolutely slaps, to no one's surprise, given what it went on to inspire. And he had said, when I was listening to Sugar Rose, I got the visual image of 2 boys standing in the ruins of a destroyed city, and that led to the idea of Terran Resonance. And then he also went on to talk about how they went to actually record their music in Iceland. It's just a neat little compilation of stuff there about our little show.
Hope you know that anytime you mention Tales of Legendia, I have just a quick internal scream,
Good.
And then I'm back.
I never claimed that everything all these people worked on was incredible. There are indeed some areas where it is flawed, and for what it is worth, Terran Resonance is a show whose the criticism around it is very split on people either really love it or they really don't. Which I don't think is too much of a surprise given that it comes from Watanabe. So I mean, you're coming off the back of someone who has some incredibly high profile and famous, industry warping works under their belt. There is kind of an expectation from the director to deliver in a certain way. We'd like to open this show with a little bit of reference on to how much of what all of us knew about the show and what our experiences was before going into it. Obviously, I've watched this. This is my 3rd, maybe 4th time watching this show. Definitely at least 3rd. It has notoriously been one of those shows that has been on my anime rankings things and constantly always at my top. And I have, before going into this podcast, said a lot that I consider to be a 10 out of 10 show. I'm excited to express if and how that opinion has changed upon another rewatch of it. I mean, I'll go to Michael because I know Michael's backstory with this show. Hey,
Yeah.
Michael. How is
So,
it to watch a show a
I've
second
watched
time because of me?
It's just very yeah. I've watched this show twice. This is my second watch. As Sean said, the first one was because of him. Because back 3 years ago or
I think
something,
so.
something like that. We tried doing another one of these with the podcast group at that time. And we weren't. We had the shows. We watched all the shows, but we never got to like do talking about them. Uh, and yeah, it was good then. Is good now. I don't know.
Ye- did we watch it dubbed when we watched it previously or no? Do you remember?
Um,
Because I know we watched it on
I
Funimation or
don't.
Hulu. I don't remember which one we
I don't
actually
even know if we
did.
watched it together before this.
We did.
Because I know not everything for that season, that thing like we did together. Because like I watched Made in Abyss completely separate from when you and
Yeah.
Elvis did.
I just know that we were on the couch watching this in the dorm.
Maybe.
But it might not even have been a part of that original batch, in all honesty.
I could have sworn it was. But I might also be insane.
I'm trying to think what else I would have picked for that.
'Cause the only thing I remember is
Yours-
that we had to watch Nodame.
What was yours for that? Was that made?
Mine was
yours-
Made in Abyss.
Yours was in Abyss. Nathan's was Nodame. I do
Yeah,
not
Main
remember.
Abyss pretty okay.
Elvis picked Fuka.
Elvis picked Fuka. Did I pick this? I'm
I
trying to
don't
think of
know.
what else I would have picked in that moment besides this.
Maybe I'm insane, but yeah, I don't
It
know.
could have
I
been.
watched this because of Sean before this point.
Yes. John or Mason, what did you guys know about Terror before going into it?
I knew it was about terrorists. That was about it, and I knew it was by the same guy who did Cowboy Bebop, Samurai Champloo, Space Dandy, all that fun stuff. And it was like that crew because also Yoko Kanno was on it. I was like, "Ooh, I'm in." That's about it.
See, I knew the show was called Terror and Resonance. That's it.
And I think even interactions with me wise, I think maybe the most Mason got was he heard me played some of the songs off of the SoundCloud playlist where they all are, thankfully. One day I will buy this CD so that I have it. Because spoilers, this show's OST is incredible. I love it. Some of them are very
Yes.
funny. Some songs are very funny and it's a wild time. So yeah, I mean, do we can jump on into it. Would you rather hold off on saying what you feel like you'd like to give the show and wait till the end, or do you want to get it out of the way now and then we'll talk about why?
I mean, I think we can just talk about the show in general now.
Okay.
Yeah, I think at the end
I think our opinions will come
we
through
do
when
a
we
whole
talk about
how
it.
good is.
Okay.
The answer is X out of 10 or whatever.
Yeah.
No.
Well, I mean, so first thing for people who don't know, Terror and Resonance is about two boys who are indeed terrorists.
They have some resonance with each other.
Yes, unless you want to talk about, unless we immediately want to jump to the scene where they go, are they really terrorists? Which I mean is clearly there for a reason, and we can go into that. But the general premise is that the two boys, 9 and 12, those are indeed their names, basically come to Tokyo after stealing what we believe to be plutonium, originally from a plant in Japan, and start doing terrorist acts, while also challenging the Tokyo police to stop them, to disarm their bombs, to figure out riddles, to find out where and who they are. And the show goes on this premise for the first 5-6 episodes, until it gets to introducing the I would say antagonist of the show, 5, another of their related children with code names. At which point the show kind of pivots into being a game of cat and mouse between them, kind of Death Note like. A lot of people like to make that comparison. Also during this, the two other kind of central characters we have are Lisa, the girl who 12, I have to get it right. The girl who 12 winds up kind of dragging into their schemes, and and him
It's,
and Nine kind of give her the choice of either die or become a terrorist. Because they simply dragged her in too deep. Those are clearly the only two options. She is wonderful, but we'll talk more about that. And the detective.
Iwazaki.
Yep. And he is a grizzled old retired dad detective who's been moved to the archives due to previous shenanigans. Who basically comes out of retirement to crack the case. Kind of detective role. And there are a couple other characters who kind of, are around, such as the American who works with Five, the younger detective who originally hates him and then eventually comes around because, oh boy, he's based. And of course, the lovable archive sidekick who is fat. Haha. Punchline.
That's it. That's
Yeah,
him as a character.
That's him. What a good bro. And then, as stuff with Five wraps up, you get to the conclusion of the show in the last 2-3 episodes, which starts to dive in more towards the motives and reasons why 9 and 12 are doing this. And that's the best we can give without going into spoilers yet. I like to try to kind of keep all spoilers into one section, so we'll hold off on talking about anything that we feel is major spoilers. I would argue anything past the airport, we'll say, is probably spoiler material. The rest is probably fair game to talk about openly. Because we're gonna have to talk about airport chess. I'm not putting that into a spoiler zone. You don't simply do airport chess and then get away with it.
True.
I mean, so that. Where do you guys want to start? Lots of stuff we can talk about.
These guys are pretty bomb. But in reality, there's gonna be a lot of those jokes. I mean, you have to. Come on.
I made one in our chat. That's
Yes.
I
Not
can't
appropriate.
say.
You could.
I don't want to.
We're far enough into being live that it won't demonetize us too bad. From all the money we're clearly making.
Assuming we're monetized.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, the show is an interesting premise. It's got a lot of pretty awesome set pieces. That's one of the things I really liked about it. A lot of unique locations, a lot of unique plans, I guess. And it tells a kind of story that brings you full circle in terms of where it goes. From starting out with the school to coming back to the school.
Yeah.
And essentially finishing there, if you want to say so. And then finishing where they actually began.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I liked our two boys. It was interesting. With their savant syndrome, as it's called, effectively, right?
Yeah.
Basically, they're taking these orphans who have savant syndrome, which is basically mentally disabled people that are very, very good at specific things.
Yeah.
Well, not even disabled, but just people with general mental regressions in certain areas. And you can kind of see that in the characters as well. I don't know the specific ones they're using for the two characters. I imagine there's specific things per se.
The general talked about belief is that 12's is probably memorization. He does a lot of he does a lot of stuff that would make you maybe think that. One of the important things about Nine's character that comes up, and again, we'll loosely talk about some things that we find even if it's later on in the show. There's just obviously a big area I say we're not talking about yet. But one of the things about Nine's character is that he has really good hearing. That's not outwardly ever said. But in the car chase scene, when he's being escorted to his press conference, he knows that Five's following him by the car. He knows someone's tracking them. And that also gives good reason for him to have his headphones in the entire time. Is because his hearing's so good that it's probably sensitive to that degree as well. Most of the time he's out, he has headphones in or earbuds, and stuff like that. Any other precise attribution to their savant syndrome isn't exactly clear. But yeah, those are kind of two of the major points about them. And then just also 12 has synesthesia. just fucking just fucking sees sounds and
Yeah.
colors.
Yeah.
I'm personally a really big fan of 9 and 12. I think it's odd because an area that I know this show often gets critique in is that there are some people don't find the characters to be too deep.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things I'll say is, I mean, this is a standalone, completely fully contained 11-episode show. And I think for what it for everything else it's trying to do as well, I think 9 and 12 are surprisingly deep characters in different ways. Though I think it's very easy to look at them and sum them up as 9's the very cold, stoic character who means business, and 12's kind of the goofball, and that's what they are. There's a lot to both of them that I think goes deeper than that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the I will say one thing is that because of 9 being the more quiet one and the one who kind of is the business one, he doesn't have a lot of time where he's like doing very charactery things. He's just kind of sitting there doing his shit, doing the stuff.
Working on bombs.
While 12 gets a lot of time to be a goofball and do shit.
Yeah.
But that's kind of the idea, is that 9 never gets himself in situations where he has to do shit because he's 9, and that's his
Yeah.
whole thing.
And I think the show, through Lisa and 12's relationship, does a lot for 9 and 12's relationship, and understanding that 9 feels about the exact same way 12 does probably towards Lisa as a person, but just knows it's a really bad idea to actually interact with her. And I think there's a really strong argument that 12 you hit a point in the show where the show very much tells you, even if it hasn't outright by that point, there is a point where they will outright spill the beans on it. But there is a lot of implication throughout kind of the earlier parts of the show that these two characters know they have a clock that they're running against. And it becomes pretty apparent that 12 makes a decision that he doesn't want all of his remaining time to be just this plan with the bombs. And so I think that's why he kind of has that hard character focus onto Lisa, is because she provides something that's not all according to this one plan. That despite what some of his actions think, I think he's always also still thinking about the plan and trying to make it work the best he can. Just until he gets put into a position where he cannot do that.
He just wants to live a life as a normal high schooler, because that's a thing he's never been able to do.
Yeah, it would be
He wants to be a normal boy.
It would be a shame if he got that and something horrible happened.
True.
Lisa. Let's talk about Lisa. She cook. She try.
She try.
She tried to cook.
Yeah, Lisa's great. She's a wonderful little ball of sunshine sometimes that really helps with the show, with a very dark tone most of the time when it comes to what's happening with the other two. As much as 12 is a goofball, he still certainly gives the murder stare a few times.
Yeah.
Lisa's literally just an innocent ball who's just trying her hardest to function, and is just in the one of the worst situations you could end up in life. She got the terrible roll of the dice, and she's just trying her hardest.
Yeah. The show introduces, upon her introduction or very close afterwards, her relation with her mother. And it is a point that's not fully on screen, closed on what happens with that. But given the end of the show, I like to think that the fact that she has a pretty clear and easy contact to the police kind of helps her life to some degree. That's what I like to think. Again, I will say, if there's anything, it's that there are some elements of Lisa's character that don't get to fully come to a close given the nature of the show.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think Lisa's a good character to have though for the characters. Obviously, like being that grounding force character that like is like the normal person here, right? Because she's the one that like I guess for the most part like you can relate to as a watcher of the show, right? Because you don't really relate to 9 and 12
Yeah.
because they're these characters from fiction, like for sure. Whereas Lisa's just like I'm just a high school girl trying not to die. Um
I'm
and
a
just
high school
happened
girl who gets bullied. I'm
I'm a
just
high school
trying to
girl
vibe.
that a terrorist just happened to take an interest in, and now I'm forced to be his girlfriend, or else I will be killed. For knowing too much. It's kind of how it looks. Like when you think about it, that's kind of what it is, and that's kind of
Yeah.
terrifying.
Yeah.
And I don't know if she gets Stockholm syndrome into it, or if she actually like eventually does grow feelings towards this person. Both of them too. But like it's like the more I think about it, I'm like it's pretty Stockholm syndrome of this whole situation. But I mean, I think she's a really good character. Again, she doesn't really do much, but like most people wouldn't be able to do much. So she's a very real character for this show.
I think you're very right about if you think about it, the show is a lot like 9 and 12's plan in that the characters that exist at the forefront are there because they have relevance to the plan. Lisa doesn't. Lisa was never supposed to be a part of the calculations. And in that regard, she feels very much like a member of the audience, where she just gets to watch everything unfold, whereas the rest of the cast play very clear and important roles in the story, as it unfolds. And I think that is interesting, as a potential thing to look at. Who wants to talk about 5?
She
That's a number.
is. She's something.
Crazy bitch.
5 is such an odd character because of how she's thrown into the story and then subsequently just pulled right out. Like she's there for only what, like 4 episodes or something like that.
5, 6 maybe.
4, yeah. Like she gets put in like I want to say it's episode 4 or 5, and then she gets pulled out in like episode 9.
Yeah.
I want to say. Um, but she's such an odd character in that she's there to be like oh, here's the bad side of what these guys are doing, even though yes, they are technically terrorists. They're not really bad. They just kind of blow up buildings, but they never kill anyone. And 5 is like the extreme version of them. So it's interesting to see of like where they would be if they had like not escaped from the situation they were in originally. But I don't know. 5, I don't know how to feel about 5.
I think that's the point. 5's supposed to be a character you're not like. She's very much a not. I guess evil is the term. Just like an evil villain character who's just there to do bad things. She doesn't. There's no like. We're never given a redeeming reason why she does it. She literally just goes, "Heh heh heh. I'm gonna do this stuff." I won't say her reason. That's a spoiler.
Yeah.
Technically,
I
that's
mean,
like
I think
that's a later spoiler.
I think it's fine to say her motivations. I think that one's fine.
I mean, she just wants to finish her 9.
Yeah.
They were playing a game, and then they got cut short because they tried to escape the escape place.
I mean, I also
And then-
think a level deeper than that, there is clearly I think there's clearly a romantic undertone in her mind towards 9.
Yeah.
And I think it's really interesting. I think it says something that 9 and 12 can do this plan without hurting people, but 5 can't interact with them and get them to play her game without hurting people. She has to. Seemingly, I mean, we don't know. She doesn't necessarily try not to harm anybody, so we don't have any proof of this. But like, it seems that she thinks the only way she can get to them and get them to play along with her is by putting other people at risk. I will say, I think a scene that I really like, is when 5 talks to Lisa, when she has Lisa tied up and they get to have the conversation about the boys to each other. because I think it's interesting to take two characters who, I mean, it's really Five's longest conversation with a character who's not dude from the United States government.
Yeah.
And it being Lisa's interesting.
I just realized
For sure.
something, and it's kind of wild to me personally, but technically this is a spoiler, so I'll talk about it later. But just the amount of people that actually die in that show is way lower than you would expect it to be.
Yeah. And I think this is something that I'll say. I think you get the most out of this show if you don't expect to go into it with, like, if you don't expect it to be very realistic. I think if you have a hard time detaching that some of the stuff that's going to happen in this show is going to be silly and a little unrealistic, you're going to find it harder to enjoy. Whereas if you can kind of let that stuff go and go, okay, you're doing this for a reason, show me what that is. It becomes a little more enjoyable. That's just my personal opinion on that. I mean, I heard the experience live where John went, more people would be hurt than that. You're lucky that was a cool set piece. Moving on.
Yeah, that was the
Yeah.
first scene too.
Yeah.
Like the first big act of terrorism.
That
I
was
guess
the building
second, but,
falling down.
Yeah.
The top of the building falling down.
Yeah. Definitely not a reference to another situation, but it's fine.
Yeah, definitely not.
It's a good thing everybody always for sure definitely follows the fire procedures of leaving a building when the fire alarm goes off.
At least this isn't set in America. If it was set in America, it'd be a different story.
You can't make me leave my building.
It's also 2014. I don't know much about Japan 2014, but I imagine this maybe even seemed a little more likely in its actual, airing time slot.
Maybe.
We have an interesting character left to talk about.
We got our homeboy.
Yes.
The homie.
I mean, so Shibazaki's introduced as... I mean, he really is just introduced... You are introduced to him and you go, okay, you're going to be the important detective.
Yeah.
The moment upon you seeing him, even though he is in archives. I think he has a lot of very interesting interactions with a lot of the small supporting characters that are meant to really push a lot of the show's themes in relation to power. And everything in relation to that. A lot of his interactions with the police force, his fellow co-workers, the one dude who's from the cyber surveillance team, who he is like, hey man, hack into the government. What do you mean you don't know? Do it.
It's like that's your job. Hack into the
Poor guy
government.
gets
Do
to
it.
lead.
It's also, I mean, I think one of the scenes I really enjoy, involving Shibazaki is when he's cracking the code for the bomb that has the computer login, and it has the little anime girl yelling and laughing at them, and he winds up getting it. He winds up figuring it out. But however, the rest of his group has gone off on their own to try to solve it without playing by the rules. I think it's one of the more neat interactions they set up in their riddles. I think it's enjoyable to watch a divide clearly start there between Shibazaki and the rest of the police force if it hadn't already existed, which it did. But that kind of furthers it. And really the only reason anyone kind of gets on board with him is because the US government shows up. And that sounds about right to me.
Yeah, that tracks. I really like Shibazaki as a character. I'm a sucker for rogue detective characters.
Mm-hmm.
I just enjoy them a lot. So Shibazaki's great because he's just yeah, no, I'm a cop, but fuck the police. They suck.
The show Terran Resonance often gets comparisons to Death Note, and there are obvious reasons why. I think it is probably the closest thing you might have to give some kind of reference to, in the fact that there is very much a game of cat and mouse, and there is very much a detective force involved. And for what it's worth, this detective force is kind of similar to the detective force that with Light's dad from Death Note.
Yeah.
They all turn in their badges, they all walk away, a bunch of them were basically fired and keep doing their job as like this might not be a good idea. Nowhere near the number of them that die in Death Note die in this show. And there is really, I think the comparison kind of stops in those places though. The shows are both doing two very different things.
The similarity is that they are shows that have detectives in them, and and you are following the people doing crime.
Yes.
Wow, this is the Dark Souls of Death Note.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I think so an element of the show that it likes to bring up is the whole, are our main characters actually bad people? None of their bombs were originally planned to hurt anybody. They make plans to get everybody out of the way. The show very much shows us and the important characters that there really isn't a good way for them to do this without, without the power structure of corporate world kind of crashing down and silencing them. I always walk out of this show, I walk out of the show going, yeah, okay, they're doing terrorism. You can't say they're not doing terrorism. You
could.
You could.
You'd be wrong.
Even to Shibazaki's point, he's like, they, in a different situation, he says, in a different time period, they might have been revolutionaries. And he's probably right about that. I mean, that's always kind of the thing about these kind of situations. Freedom fighters, rebels, revolutionaries, terrorists. It's all how it's framed by whoever is telling the narrative. But all the terms are technically applicable. I wouldn't wipe these guys clean of crimes. They do commit crimes. I don't think there's ever a point where they think they're going to get away from committing crime and like consequences for it. They're just trying to get to a point where other people will also get justice as opposed to just them. Hey guys, let's talk about the show's soundtrack.
It's really fucking good.
Yeah, the soundtrack is just amazing.
It has
It's one of those things where see, I like to make comparisons. Like, I like to bring up Yako CMN because he's a reviewer I respect with the way he talks about things. And in his video talking about the best games of 2021, he brings up Nier Automata's soundtrack. He brings it up in a way where, or Nier Automata / Nier Replicant, where you'll play the game or watch the thing, and you're like, yeah, this music's really good. But eventually, you'll kind of you'll forget details, whatever, because you have convoluted plots and stuff. But you go back, you listen to these songs, and you immediately get filled with the exact same emotions you had at the scenes they played. These songs are so perfect at bringing back what you felt during this show, and they perfectly fit the scenes that they're played in. Iz and Vone are such great songs for when they play. I won't say when they play, but they are such great songs for when they play.
Yeah.
I mean, Iz is real early. Iz is the motorcycle scene. I think referring to it as the Ferris wheel scene for Vone is fine.
Yeah.
There are a couple other tracks that are a little trickier to talk about. Walt as a track. You may not know what it is based on me saying Walt, but upon hearing of it, you go, oh, it's the They Do Terrorism song. Because it is the piano track that just constantly plays in the show.
My favorite track name is Lolo, which is the one for when they have panic attacks.
Yeah. There's a really goofy song.
That's what it's called, because it's in Icelandic, so it means something completely different.
There's a really, really goofy song that is just... I don't even know how to describe it, but it comes on and you go, what is this? What is this? Why are you playing this? And I think it predominantly plays in Shibazaki scenes when he's like just going from place to place. I know which one it is, but I don't want to. I'll have to get it. I'm pretty sure I know which one it is at least. Oh no, I don't know if I can find it. Illegal. But yeah, I mean the soundtrack is incredible. I mean something that has always stood out to me about this show is that it's from 2014. It fucking looks incredible. Not that that's a period of time where anime looked bad. But even then, this is one of those shows that very much has a stylistic art style they chose for it. The only thing that on this rewatch that was a new experience to me, somehow I had not noticed it before, is that, yeah, they use a lot of CG for the background crowds. And to quote Giguk, background crowd CG never looks good. There's just no way to do large crowd of CG people and make it look appealing. But they don't always do it. I know the train scene, those are all just people. They don't use CG for that scene when he's rushing past the crowd and trying to get everybody out of the train. That's just actual people. But like a lot of the big, like anytime they're in like the big open Tokyo environments, the people are CG. The good thing is that your attention is mainly drawn to the main character or the thing going on that you don't pay too much attention to them. At least I had it the first time I watched this show. But outside of that, I think the art's incredible. Basically the whole way through. I've never seen a show fall more in love with snowmobile motorcycle scenes.
Yeah.
I forgot
They
just how
look
many
cool.
there were. They do. I'm not saying
The
they
Oculus
don't.
slide's the coolest thing ever. So like,
Oh,
does this show do an Oculus slide?
I don't.
Because
If
my
they
brain like knows the Oculus slide's a thing, but I also don't remember exactly like what
If
is
they do
considered
it-
an Oculus slide.
if they-
It does do it. It does do it in the last motorcycle scene.
Oh, yeah, it probably does.
I was
It
gonna-
does because of the grenade.
I was gonna say I also don't know if 12 does it on the first appearance of the motorcycle where he
Yeah.
interrupts the cops. I don't.
Yeah, he
remember
might
if
do it during the.
it's-
He might do it right when at the start of the motorcycle scene. Now I gotta look it up. Ooh. Wow, I wrote TERR and it already knew what I was looking
Of
for.
course it does. You've
course.
engaged with it enough recently for it to be the case. I mean, I will leave if there's anything you guys want to bring up as talking points before we push to spoiler zone. I am down to let you guys talk about stuff.
He does not Oculus slide
No.
Okay.
there. He definitely does it at the spot in like episode 8 or 9, wherever it is.
I think it's 9. It's either 9 or even might be 10 even. I think it's 9 though. Tricky to say. Yeah, but I don't know if there's anything else you guys want to bring up before we move into spoiler zone.
No, not really. Like, this show is hard to talk about without spoiling. So
Yeah, we certainly have probably spoiled more than we should have.
Correct.
That's kind of the
but-
nature of the show. It's a very hard thing to talk about.
Well then, if you are still interested in watching Terror and Resonance, I recommend, completely blind that is, or as blind as you can given the point of this podcast, I recommend, you stop watching, come back after you've seen, through the end of Terror and Resonance, or just, mute and unmute, the video once I bring the spoiler zone back down for the end discussion of how good is. So now we have entered it. Welcome to the spoiler zone. The floor is your guys's.
What I will say is, like, even though they had a plan all the way through, it felt a lot of times like the plots were really contrived. to me, at least a little bit. And that's what kind of detracted from me a bit, because it feels like it was kind of all over the place with what they were doing. It wasn't like it was set plans in very random spots, and I guess the question would be like, is this something that was done in a place? What do you guys think of like, did they do this planning with like, my goal is to do this act of terrorism, or is it I want to do something in this location with this puzzle? Let's go from there. I think it's interesting. What do you guys think about that?
I think there are a couple points in the show that point that they have the targets and spots planned out ahead of time.
Yeah.
And the whole purpose of everything in the lead up is to get Shibazaki to figure things out. Like there are like everything is picked so that each of the target locations points to the diet members, and then that way like the idea is they were just going to do things long enough till they had reason to believe Shibazaki had figured everything out. Even if they never met him. They would just hope they had given enough information by the closing time that it would work.
And worst comes to worst, they at least fuck with these people enough.
Yeah. I mean.
Yeah. But yeah, I think it's very much pointed out though with the idea with like after when they're in like the second or third bomb or second or third event, they're like, I think it was with the second. 12's like, are you sure you want to do this? Because like they didn't solve the riddle last time. And I'm like, part of me feels like someone might have, because I think the idea is like someone gets there, like Shibazaki gets there like last second to getting it because he wasn't given the riddle early enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The whole idea is he's like, I'm just gonna give them one more try. As I assume that there's a chance, like if Shibazaki didn't get it there, they just went somewhere else and tried again.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like they went to like either a different part of Tokyo. Like, I know, because Tokyo's pretty. I don't know. A different part of Japan and went like, hey, we're gonna do all this stuff.
Yeah.
Yet we don't know. We don't even know if this is their first time doing this set of stuff. We don't know how long before. We're given an idea of how long before this.
Yeah.
The plutonium was taken, but that was still like a bit ago from what I remember. It was like months and months before that point.
It's like 8 months or something like that.
Yeah. In that time, they could, because like the entire plot of the show happens over like 2 weeks or something.
Yeah.
It feels like.
Yeah. That's probably
like it's not a
about...
super long amount of time. Like a month at most. This entire plot takes place over.
Yeah. It definitely, I think, it's probably longer than the show makes it feel like.
Yeah, because it makes it feel like it's like 5 days. But I know there's definitely times of...
Yeah, I was gonna say, you imagine it's probably not back to back. Here's a riddle, solve it, bomb. Here's a riddle, solve it, bomb. Day by day by
Solve
day.
it, bomb.
It's a fake riddle, solve it, bomb.
Bomb?
Here's airport chess, solve it, bomb.
We can talk about airport
Solve it,
chess.
not my bomb.
Airport chess is the funniest fucking scene ever. Because God, does it not fucking make sense?
And does it
Especially
not matter
because-
like at all?
How big
Oh,
is
yeah,
that
no.
airport?
The fucking ability of Nai to remember what the board looked like in relation to where he was standing.
Oh,
And
yeah.
also, there were spaces that were outside, as we learned, is where the plane's going is outside of the airport still.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, the fact that like he has to run to the location, but like, how does he communicate that to her by just running to the location? Like, is she just assuming one of the pieces moves there? Like,
I think she's just checking every camera.
I assume
No,
the
but
idea
here's
that
the thing.
he'll run to a space, then run to the space he wants it to go to. I don't know.
but like
Airport
that would take
chess.
so much
Yes.
time.
I mean, it
Well,
is
the idea
implied
is
that
that
it's
it
like
takes like 8 hours.
yeah, it's like over the course because they start in the day and that scene ends at night.
Yeah,
They
like,
were
it-
doing
yeah,
that
but
a
he
while.
runs
day.
the whole time.
Oh yeah, he should be dead.
And also, what about
Yeah.
the other two? Like the timeline for that one, especially in that whole like scenario. While it's a really interesting like premise and like a kind of like almost comedic kind of like catch me if you can situation, it makes no goddamn sense. It makes no fucking sense in terms of like the timeline, in terms of like how it's like going to function and how they don't just catch him. Like, I know obviously like she doesn't want them to catch him.
Yeah,
because,
Yeah, that's
like,
the idea, is that she's not trying
but
to
here's the
catch
thing: it's not just her. Like,
Yeah.
their faces are out there in public at this point, right? They released the faces right before that. That's why they couldn't go public. So, like, someone in this fucking airport might have recognized them.
I don't
might be,
think their
it might have
faces.
been out of order.
No, their faces
We're
aren't
not out there
public yet because if
But-
they were, Shibazaki would have known for sure it was him when he passed him. In
That's
the
right.
airport
The
scene.
most public face we have is the drawing of a 9 from when he was
Yeah.
working,
I don't think you get the. I don't think.
which looks nothing like
I
him.
don't know if 12's face is ever revealed, to the public.
No, we never get a specific 12 reveal because 9 does it in
Yeah.
episode fucking 10 when
Yeah,
he sets off the bomb.
He does it for
or
the
when
press
he sends the
conference.
balloon up.
Yeah, the press conference scene and all that. That's why I think it's really funny that there's a scene where he's walking through the street past a mom and her child as they're
Yeah.
evacuating, and the kid does turn and look at him, and it's like, does he know? Does the kid know? Has he cracked
Does
the code?
he know? Does he know what he is cooking?
Stop.
Let him go.
Why is this the thing?
I mean, yeah, like Michael said, we could talk a little more in depth to it. Obviously the motorcycle scene is a really a nice, well done scene that has a really good instrumental. The Ferris wheel scene with Vaughn takes that up, for just even higher. No
I
pun
love
intended.
that scene.
Um,
That scene is incredible.
I'm so happy that while we were watching it, John had the reaction that I did my first time, and every time I rewatch it, when Lisa looks at 12 and goes, "Get out of here, saved herself," and you remember that they are at the very top of the Ferris wheel, and you go, "Lisa, how the fuck do you expect
Yeah.
him to get out of here?" Just
He just gets down.
parkour his
Easy.
way down. It's
I
just
mean, for
really
them,
funny.
honestly.
Probably, but it's really funny.
Yeah.
And even if he got like 3 carts away from what we see, the amount of fucking explosives this man has to go through.
Yeah.
That entire
Yeah.
Ferris wheel plus the entire park's probably going down with these fucking bombs.
Oh yeah.
It's like, because it's like, oh, they're like, yeah, it's gonna take him forever. You see the bricks of stuff he's pulling out.
Yeah.
Then you see the fact that there's like 16 of them on this vest
Yeah,
that he needs to defuse.
I think he's 4 or 5 through by the time it gets really, really close.
Yeah,
Like
but
it's
by the
Yeah.
time they go, we're gonna have to turn the timer off. There's no way. Also, because 5's like, I give him the ultimatum. He.
It's kind of wild that like I know it's the American government and all, and they gave 5 like free reign, but also it's kind of amazing that it took as long as
Yeah.
it did for the one guy to go, "Hey,
Clarence.
we're done doing this
Yeah.
shit."
I mean,
Yeah.
he gets really close a lot of times before that. I
Well,
mean,
yeah,
the
but-
Ferris wheel scene is a big point for him, where he's like, nobody
What the fuck?
can disarm that bomb in the amount of time you've given this child. If you blow him up, we don't have anything. And she's like, and he's like, hold on a minute. We should talk about this.
He's like, hold on,
It's the
you
idea
work
that
for
during
us.
chess, is the idea that during airport chess, no one else notices what the fuck is happening, and she's the only one who has any idea they're playing
I
chess.
think so.
Like Clarence and no one else,
So
because as they go, hey, random person, put these pictures up. How does he know when to put them up? Good fucking question. I don't know. If you put them up at vaguely the correct time, you can kind of guess how long it's going to take 9 to make the moves he needs.
yeah,
It's an absolutely wild thing. And she's like, yeah, I'm just gonna. Hey, I got them here. And we're gonna sit here and watch these
I-
cameras for
I-
8 hours.
I would like to know how she convinces them to kidnap Lisa and put her on a plane with a bomb. Because
Yeah.
I don't know who exactly knows how much of that plan goes. But because I mean, that episode has 9 finds them, almost kills 5, and then more of the government shows up and tries to kill him, and she gets really mad at them for doing so.
yeah.
Yep.
And then just some thug she gives directions to kidnap a girl and put her on a plane, and they're like, sure, I guess I'm following orders.
Like, I mean, I guess if it'll catch the terrorists. I think the idea that she also
funny,
tells them the
catch the
bombs were
terrorists.
duds / weren't gonna go off. What
You know,
it's all a whole bunch of hoopla.
Yeah,
Also-
very apparent from the train one that was clearly done.
Yeah.
Yeah, I appreciate that. It's like, what's the line you've drawn, United States government? throwing a grenade at a kid on a motorcycle and then getting ready to shoot one of the terrorists in cold blood. I'm drawing the line here.
To be fair, 5 didn't throw the grenade. 9 or
That's
12
true.
threw
That's
the
true.
grenade.
12 threw the grenade.
12 threw the grenade. 12 had it because 9 specifically pointed it out to him, like, "You threw a grenade, didn't you? You're the only one flashy enough to do that."
That's some dumbass shit that only you would do.
Yeah, you would throw a grenade while Akira sliding and then proceed to fall off the bike because that's a very difficult thing to do. And
Breaking
then
20
eat
bones
shit,
in your body.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and then almost fucking die, you absolute bitch. And so I was like, hee, that was me.
Yeah, during that scene, 5 is instead driving a car and shooting tires out of vans like an actual intelligent human being.
I really did appreciate
Like everyone
that.
screams that people should do in
Yeah.
those action movies, and then no one aims for the thing. They just aim for the fucking windows that are bulletproof.
I do like that she starts just shooting the van and the windows to scare them and kill a dude, and then she shoots the tires. She's like, I've given you enough warning shots.
Yeah.
Ugh.
This show was interesting. Like, it wasn't what I was expecting, but it was really good. I really enjoyed it.
Aurora
Like-
Borealis.
Aurora Borealis at this time of year.
Here, in this climate, localized entirely within Tokyo. Yes.
Can I see it? Yeah.
Yeah.
All it takes is one nuke.
Can I understand how it got there? No.
No.
I mean, yeah, and so like we mentioned, we then get we get the closing of the show, which is EMP the entire electronic system of all of Japan. Fucking Dr. stoned their ass. No more electronics for you, except for Nine's watch and an MP3 player.
No, they were inside a
Well,
box.
and the MP3 player, I imagine, probably would have worked anyway. Depends on how old it is.
I think it's a
guess.
small enough device that it wouldn't be affected. Because I think the idea that an EMP in this only affects like the really big structures.
Yeah.
Also, he could have had another one in the box. I don't know.
Hi, show. Thanks for establishing that only American chapters, fucking U.S. flight military equipment could probably get around an EMP in the current age. Definitely not
Yeah.
important. Nudge, nudge, wink, wink. I still get a kick out of the line where they're like, "What? Do we have any kind of air? How many aircrafts will survive if this EMP goes off? None. Then why did you explain it?" That bit's still really funny to me.
I did enjoy the fact too that they went, "We're gonna try it," and then went, "Ah, fuck, it's gone too high. It's bailing. I'm fucking bailing."
I ain't
It's like,
dying
well,
today.
just a little bit late like usual.
I mean, so they make the return back to the old facility school-like building where the kids were, which, I mean, it's really smart from them to think to go there, considering the fact that they could probably have used that as cover at any point in time, because nobody going there would have to mean you understand who you're dealing with and what's going on, which no one did for a while.
Yeah.
She was actually the only person to ever connect that.
I imagine the U.S. government simply followed Shibazaki,
Probably.
or
had-
had pieced
they
it
got
together by
trackers
that
in
point.
people's asses.
Yeah.
Or 5 just straight. Because the idea is
Yeah.
that they also had 5, and 5 could have just straight up told them.
Beforehand, yeah, probably. She does indeed fucking kill herself.
Yeah, Well, yeah, 'cause the idea is that 5 was like taken specifically from there.
Yeah,
So the idea is that they know
know.
about that
they know.
location.
They just didn't know
I don't,
they were
the idea
tied
is that
to
they
it
don't
right
know
away.
9 and 12 are connected to it.
Yeah.
Like they don't know that the members of Sphinx are 2 of the other people from 5's thing. Is the idea, I guess, at that point.
Yeah.
Until the end, they kind of connect those dots.
I mean, to talk about connecting those dots quick before we go into the actual end of the show. Those 2 scenes where Shibazaki gets to do the interviews. One's an interview, the other one's kind of just yelling at calmly arguing with each other about morals. 2 scenes of which all the characters' safeties in those scenes do not feel guaranteed whatsoever. Really wonderful. The show makes you very much worried that they're not going to get the information out of the first guy, that Shibazaki might not walk out of the second situation very well.
It's like there
Yeah.
certainly is a chance that no one walks out of the second situation without a bullet through their fucking skull.
Yeah.
I appreciate
Like-
that Shibazaki would have done it. He was thinking about it.
And I enjoy the fact too that when he's doing the interview with the one guy and Hamura's there and he's just like, and the guy goes, if you hear me say this, you are at heavy risk of dying. And Shibazaki immediately goes, Hamura, get the fuck out of here.
And
But
Hamura's,
you have a wife and kids.
Hamura's like, nah, I'm staying. Hand shakes, knees weak, arms heavy. I
Almost beats this man to death.
I will never get over the go get me a pack of cigarettes. It is the one pack of cigarettes that is hardest to find in all of Tokyo. Ghetto.
Yeah.
Yep,
And
he
but
literally sends him on a wild goose chase.
But he still gets it for him, and that's the best part.
Yeah.
I imagine halfway through he was like, he fucking got me. I might as well get him the cigarettes.
He's like, I guess I'm gonna keep going.
Yeah.
At this point, I've already been embarrassed. I might as well come back with the cigs.
Like, I'm not gonna fail twice.
I think a part of me thinks that with a longer runtime, the show might have been able to go into a little bit deeper, more of Shibazaki's childhood and like his relation with the older people of Japan, the older generation around him, and really have played up the whole I am a survivor of atomic war, of nuclear war, and I don't want to see this kind of atrocity repeated. People who are abusing their power to potentially let Japan be on equal footing by developing nuclear weaponry, might as well or just as good. They might as well die just like anyone else who has nuclear power, because they aren't caring about us. They're caring about waving how much power they have around. I still think the show does a good job leveraging it and using it in the scenes it does. But like there is a vision in my mind of a Terror in Resonance that gets to show you young Shibazaki that I really enjoy as a concept. And then we get to the collective oh no scene of the show. Where our closing starts to happen. 12's last words are, the girl's a hostage, keep her safe. Pain. I appreciated the moment in the call when the chopper fires and 12 dies, and both John and Mason go, that was not who I thought was going to get shot.
Yeah. We both immediately were like, oh fuck, I thought it was gonna be 9.
I was like, oh, that's the wrong one. I think he was like the third in line to get shot there. I was like,
Yeah.
it's probably gonna be 12, then Shirazaki, and then them, and then him in that order.
The U.S. government really
sorry,
did go.
9, and then
yeah, the U.S. government really did go. We could keep the detective alive. They won't believe him, and he'll probably put more blame on Japan's government than us anyway. We'll be fine.
Can't prove it was the Americans, so.
It's a scene. I hate and love that scene. The coloring is incredible for it. The sound's great. God. The scream's wonderful. Well done scream. As per usual anime screams, it is incredibly fucking good. And then you get your nice little credit roll. Lisa and Shibazaki still care. People were arrested. Some justice was done. And it does, like, I mean, John, I think you said it incredibly well. It does just, it loops so well back in on itself. And basically every way. Cicadas. Play cicada sounds of sound clip, summer sound clip.
Cadence OP.
Yeah.
So, I think now would be the time that we drop the spoiler zone. now I think we have hit the point where we go, how good is? I've thought about this, and I'll gladly give my opinion first. You know, I walk around loudly yelling about how much I love this show, and that to me it's a 10 out of 10 show. And I stand by the fact that it is certainly not the best show I've given a 10 out of 10 to. It certainly has areas where I think it could have been better, or you know, it might lack a little. But overall, it is still an experience that I absolutely love and adore to go through. And this is one of those personal biases where this show's a 10 out of 10 because I just fucking love it. There are obviously a lot of shows that I've watched or on my list that I think are probably better shows. Odd Taxi is almost certainly probably a better show than this in its collection. I think I have a very hard time finding flaws in Odd Taxi.
It's a really good show.
So if retroactively I had not given Odd Taxi a 10, Odd Taxi should be a 10. I think I did.
Odd Taxi's issue is that I want more of it.
Yeah.
You know, they didn't need more. 12 episodes was perfect for Odd Taxi, but I want more of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I stand by where I have it. I have yet to find a show that I love quite as dear as this one. Things are close. Things get very close. Ranking of Kings was very close. I'll be excited to see how some other stuff shapes out. Violet's always been like right next to this for me. And it's just I think it's just a matter of the order in which I stumbled upon it. If I had found this after a couple of other things, I probably wouldn't hold it so high. I probably wouldn't be as in love with it. But I also think that its collective themes are something that I stand by a lot. It personally, and I really adore this show's soundtrack. It's very rare that I have a show whose soundtrack completely changes my opinion and view on music. This is probably the first thing that I've ever engaged with that this probably was the show that opened up the door of really listening to music outside of the US and the UK. Like actually taking, like I probably have gotten to listening to Japanese songs eventually, but this was the one that's like I'm down to listen to stuff that's from like Germany, Russia, you know, the Baltics, stuff like that. And it's fucking. There's a reason that this show's been a desktop background on either my actual desktop or my laptop since I've watched it. I enjoy it aesthetically. I enjoy everything. I find it very pleasing, and also am totally comfortable getting shot by it numerous times whenever needed. So for me, the show still sits at a 10 out of 10. But that is very much propelled by my personal bias.
Yeah. So I guess I can go next because mine's also a review of my old ranking, which was never like a big public thing. I would never like, guys, I gave the show a 9 out of 10. But yeah, that's what I have this show ranked as. And I'm gonna be keeping it that way even after this watch. I think the show is great. The music great, visuals great, characters great. But the show has one issue, which I think when we were watching, Dodge definitely pointed this out a few times. This show has a lot of shit that is very ridiculous that these characters do. You have to suspend your disbelief a lot for some of the dumb shit these two kids are able to do as just two kids. But a lot of times you brush it off of, okay, but it was cool though.
Yeah.
At some point, you eventually hit a point where you're like, okay, this is a little ridiculous. The situations are all amazing. They set up great moments, but it's a little ridiculous sometimes. It's still an amazing show, but boy, is it's something sometimes.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of like I coined this word when watching Code Geass. A lot of the contrivancy of things. In terms of just like the raw like weirdness of the events that happened to me. I think overall it was a very solid show. Michael, how would you rate the show? Like, if you give us, did you say?
He's
Yeah,
a 9.
9.
Okay.
Give it a 9.
I wasn't as big on it as you guys. I thought it was still good. But for me, it was just like a lot of that stuff just really was just like, but when do we get to like the point where like it feels more like a mystery being solved and a lot less like these kids are just kind of dragging people around? Because it feels like it was like they want it to be solved, but at the same time they really didn't, and it kind of confused me. But I enjoyed. I always enjoy these like mystery shows. I like it better when like it feels like you can solve it a bit more. This one, if you really wanted to like take a second to think about it, you have to like pause it and know a lot about what's going on in like that situation or that area or that time. It's not like a D&D puzzle where it's like, everyone has a chance to solve it. It's like, no, 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 no. The cops have a chance to solve it in the show. You get to watch and see if they can do it. These very oddly specific things, but that's okay. And that's what that character was there for. He just happened to know all the things that they were talking about. But for me, like I enjoyed the show. I think it was pretty good. I'd give it somewhere between like 7.5 to 8. On par with like some of the other shows we watched. I'm like a more harsh grader though, so like giving it an 8 means it's like definitely above average. But like I think I stick in like the 7.5, 8 tier, which is where I think I put like Villainess and what was the other shows we watched? We watched Isaac.
Heizuken and
Where did I put
Taxi.
Isaac? Where did I put?
I will say, I think that's typically where the show falls for a lot of people.
I would give Isaac an 8. So yeah, 7.5, 8.
Is that like high 7, low 8 range? I think is the typical fall for it. Mason.
Yeah.
I gave it a 9. I really liked a lot of what this show did. I'm always a sucker for like this show. Just felt very like the best way I can explain it. I'm sorry, I'm listening to Vaughn. And
It's like, I know my hairs are standing up and it's hard to
Yeah.
function, you know?
Exactly. It felt like the only word that's coming to mind is like melancholy, but that's not just how I want to describe it. It's very like the best way I can think of it is it doesn't feel very anime to me.
Yeah.
It feels very like almost indie film is the best way I can describe it. Like I can definitely like it just feels very like I don't know how to describe it. I don't know the word, but like all I can think of is like close knit almost, but that's not like that doesn't explain it. But like it's very like reserved and like refined by itself.
If I watched this in a small theater in a town,
Yeah.
on like I would find it incredible. I find it amazing in like that in that small space moment of being so close to what you're being given.
Mhm.
Do you have anything else, Mason?
No, I mean that I really liked this show. I'm very glad that you made us watch it.
I will say that one of the areas I don't think we touched a lot about that I'll leave for people to kind of do on their own time. Is the show does a lot of symbolism in it. Even just the OP extending outwards. It's most obvious at the end of its run, where they do a very particular shot with some birds. That's very on the nose symbolism.
Birds.
But I think there's a lot of stuff with a lot of moments that are really interesting. The constant use of the feathers falling for 12 when he's seeing things. The fact that they're very similar to both bird feathers and angel feathers. There's a lot there to unpack, take a look at. I think this is a show that if you're someone who likes to like try to figure out why something was done or the really deep themes behind it. I mean, it's a Watanabe. It's a Watanabe show. I mean, you have plenty of time to do that. But this one in particular gives you a lot of areas to look at. And it was enjoyable for me to go back and do it again with people who have a fresh view of it. And then still walk out getting to have some new experiences with it myself. I mean, there is kind of the last thing I don't think I ever get to. I don't get to talk a lot about. Is I think Lisa's opening lines of this show are a very important part of it. That it focuses on 12's 12's smile and 9's eyes, which are in the show their most telling characteristic. You understand 12 the most by his actual physical facial expression with his mouth, and 9's eyes are the thing that deceive him, that betray him the most in this show. He'll say something, they'll show you his eyes, and you know he's feeling a different way than what he said. And the fact that Lisa picks up on it on first meeting them, it's there for a reason. I absolutely adore this show. Again, its soundtrack is available to buy, still, I believe, and you can find it also on SoundCloud if you temporarily want to check it out, listen, see how much you like it. Some of it's available across, media platforms. Vaughn's just almost completely disappeared from YouTube. There used to be tons of videos for it. There was even one that there was a really, really nice lyric video for it that I don't know. I mean, I know where it went, YouTube. But I actually don't understand fully why it's got and some other things aren't. But I adore this show, and I'm glad you guys generally walked away positive from it. Been a wonderful time, everybody. This will wrap our current run through of how good it is.
We did it. It only took 2 years, but we did it.
It only took a year and a half. We did it.
God damn it,
in
Sean.
2024, we watch the next show.
Yeah.
Why?
We'll have to
Why
pick
do you
soon.
do this?
Remember me talking about looking for spray paint fonts?
Yeah,
While
I
I was in
do.
call? Yeah.
I'm not gonna think of what show I need to put on the next one.
Yeah, we gotta figure out how
Yeah.
how long of shows we're allowing.
I know what I want to put, but very technically, Sean's already supposed to watch it.
Oh, hi, Dance Dance Sewer.
No,
Oh.
I already talked about this before. I want to put Fire Force on here.
Oh, hey, I mean, that's got pushed back because I'm not technically doing the
we putting
January
hentai
one,
on there?
so I mean, I'm going to kill you. Hey, everybody, thanks for tuning in. We'll see you at the end of the month for, hopefully end of the month, start of February for, the new season of
Guys.
Save or Slay.
Have you heard of these small indie shows called Bocchi the Rock or Licorice Recoil?
Have you heard of the small indie show called Sunny Boy?
I'm just saying, by the way,
I
Bocchi
mean,
the Rock,
that-
Cloverworks show, redeemed.
Yeah.
For the Hori
Overworks
meal.
has redeemed
fucking
itself a ton.
It's a shame.
Yeah, and then
that
it, and then
Hori
it
Meal wasn't
immediately
my first
drops the
win.
ball 30 seconds later.
Don't worry.
Yeah.
What's it doing this season that it can fail on? Either way, guys, have a great time. We'll see you later.
Bye.